That's what I like to hear. All right, guys, I'd like to introduce to you my friend, Mr. Michael Exler, from Dust Till Con Radio and the East Coast Horror Group. You guys make some noise for the man. Enjoy Vincent Dead LA. This is the final panel of the weekend. It's the Dream Warriors panel, so let's go ahead and bring these guys up. Ira Heiden, Bradley Gregg. Heiden. So first question, easy question. How did you all get involved in the film?
Bradley, you want to start? Let you get on it.
It was after Stand By Me, and I was working in TV, and I really was looking for a film to do. It just happened to be bugging my agent, and I said, "Hey, I want to do a film." And then he called me, and I went down and met Chuck Russell and auditioned, and that's how it happened.
Penelope, how did it happen for you?
Same. I just went to an audition and I started working at 6 years old. So doing commercials and TV, so it was just, another audition and other than that, like travel. I think maybe 1 or 2 auditions after. Pretty simple.
I had a manager at the time and an agent, and got the audition, and I was psyched because I'd seen the first one. I was scared shitless. Living in Tampa, Florida, and I moved out here to start acting, so I was psyched to get to audition for the movie, and I actually auditioned 6 times. Chuck had me come back 3 different times. Annette Benson was the casting director. She was awesome. And yeah, I'm just really psyched to be able to get the call, and studied my ass off and got the job.
So you auditioned 3 times for Annette Benson?
I know I auditioned once for Annette, and then came back and she put me on tape, and then so maybe it was 5 times, and then 3 for Chuck.
So talk about the reaction of the film. Most people say it's their favorite of the sequels, and some even compare it to being as good as the first one. Talk about the reaction that you guys got after filming.
It seems to be the most popular from the feedback. That's what it is.
There you go.
It seems to be the most popular commercially and of the fans. And, I think it's the first one that really had humor in it. Like, the first one was very scary. I mean, I watched both of them before the audition. That's the only way I prepared. Because I don't watch a lot of scary movies, and so I rented them and watched both. And I think ours was the first one to have humor in it. And I think that that's a big reason why it's such a hit. One of the reasons.
Yeah, I think the impact on the fact that the Dream Warriors finally, got together to fight the bad guy might have been like one of the first times ever, because usually the killer gets you alone and single-handedly rips everybody out piece by piece. This was a collective group, like we're going to go in there, we're going to get into our dreams, and we're going to kick some ass. It was really cool. It's a great feeling. And the impact. God, I was... I know, that's true. I love you. You're just the aspect of the dream.
I got it.
You did, man. Because you talked about how, it's this whole psychosis, It's bullshit. You were the badass.
Yeah,
You and Jen.
to me, it's often when you work in film and TV, the things that you think are going to be, oh, this is going to be huge, this is going to be great, often are not. And the stuff that you kind of take lightly and just have fun with, you don't expect them to take off. And that's been the biggest, I mean, to this day, I mean, look at us. People contacting me, oh, that's the best dad ever. And, you know, I'm like, really? Wow. You know, I just remember I shared a story, and it was Ira and I vividly one night. It was so eerie in this old, decrepit, rundown VA hospital that it was so rundown. There were like animal cages on the floor when you walked in the bottom floor, and you run up a few stairs, and then all of a sudden there's this one floor they painted and made look all brand new, like it was a hospital. That's where Larry Fishburne was. And, you know, but it was so eerie. You hear this dog barking at night. It was around this time of year, and it was just really eerie. You know,
Yeah.
the whole vibe just was there.
It was there that night, hanging out in your Jeep. That was October 31st. That was Halloween that night.
So how much freedom were you each given to mold the characters into what you wanted them to be?
I don't know, I think just from our auditions, I feel, speaking for me, that I really got into my character as D&D, Service from Dungeons and Dragons, and which I played a lot of. So I got to hold that and bring that a lot into my character. So I kind of think that's how I molded it into me.
I actually have a kind of funny story about that because the audition process, I think I had 2 auditions, 2 or 3, and I remember when I auditioned for Chuck Russell, the director. I stopped myself because I didn't feel good with what I was doing, and he got kind of pissed off at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "I'm the director. I'll tell you when." You know. So it was more to me interpreting the character that's written and doing my job to best represent that. And we didn't have a lot of rehearsal.
How about you, Brad?
Maybe state the question.
Yeah, how much freedom were you given to mold the character into what you wanted it?
I feel like a lot. You know, I kind of, I mean, even to this day, I just kind of do my thing, and if they, meaning, you know, director, producers, you know, want something different, they'll come and, you know, tell me. So I just go, and I hit it off with Chuck pretty well. Like, he really just let me do my thing and kind of created the character, you know. Escape into it, you know. It was good.
Bradley, talk about the makeup work that you had done for your, you know, the puppet scene and all that.
Yeah, that was really interesting. A guy named Gregg, how do you pronounce his last name? Gregg Cannon? And went down, had like, it was claustrophobic. I had like this full, did you guys do that too? And I had to like just be in like a full body mold. And, you know, I'd never done that before, and that was really cool. And then, like what I was saying before, that I think something, the humor was good, but I think also something that lent itself to it being successful was that it was so, back then it was just starting to become a successful franchise. So it was not a big budget, and I remember tying the veins. You know, it didn't take as long as like Freddy's, but it took a long time to put the stuff on. They tied them to an IV stand, and then there was like a grip, like right off camera, just pulling it like that. So I had to make it look taut. There was no special effects involved in this film, and I think there was something cool about that. There's something really raw and fake blood all over you, and just like, you know. So it was, you know, it was, you know, and it was one of my first things I ever did. The only other thing that I had in Stand By Me, Eyeball had a little didn't bother me. It was fun. You know, so.
The greatest also was at lunchtime, I remember. We had to have them on the side. We had spaghetti for lunch.
I kept them for the longest time, and they hung in my apartment until I met my wife. You know, she was my girlfriend. She's like, those are really gross. You know, I had like a little piece of like all the different films, you know, and things. I had like a little shrine and picture of Al Pacino. Yeah, she's like, you gotta get rid of those. I wish I still had them. I really did. I think they're cool. My veins.
Penelope, talk about
Phillip's veins.
Penelope, talk about your death scene, which has now become infamous in the Nightmare. You know, Welcome to Prime Time. Talk about filming that. How did that set up? How was that done?
Well, I, like Bradley and Ira, had to, first thing I did after I got hired for the job was go down to some warehouse in downtown and put a bodysuit on me and threw me on a table and just started putting these strips, plastered. So it made it a complete body cast. I don't think that was necessary, but I mean, they could have just done the head. Anyway, and then making the scene was just, what was your question?
Just setting up the scene, you know, how it was shot.
Yeah. Well, they, the part where my character's going in the television set, they had it's just edited, a lot of editing. A combination of me, at some point with a harness, and the dummy going in, and then a body double, and then when Freddy was coming out of the TV, he was just standing there on some boxes in front of me, and so just a lot of editing and all those different shots, and the dangling and the hanging, and there's a clip on. Well, I think it's on my Facebook page. There's a couple Facebook pages for me, by the way, that aren't mine, but there is one that is mine, and that's the one with the black and white picture in back. But there's a clip on there of behind the scenes footage of them filming my screen, and it's really neat to see, and I recommend watching it. It just shows how it's almost like, I feel like an athlete, it's like, okay, go, and then you got it, and you hitting your mark, and it's a great shot of that. So.
Ira, talk about your, death scene with the wheelchair and actually fighting back against Freddy, and some of the effects for the time were pretty state of the art.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really cool. They had little electric charges that came out of my fingers, so there was a spark, and then they used a little extra stuff after. It was a cool, fun death scene. One which my mom would never watch because she couldn't stand that I died in the movie. It was really cool, and I remember being an actor, and I remember it's death, you were gonna die, and so I kind of went into a serious state, and Robert is right next to me, cracking jokes, and it's just not helpful having Freddy crack jokes to you, and tell you how he just bought a house in Laguna Beach. And I said, that's great, thank you, Robert, but I have to think of death now, death. So we get up there, and we get ready for the scene, and I'm on a harness, he grabs me, and he had retractable hands in the blades at the time. Well, some of them weren't retracted. So they put a 2x4 right by my heart, and just to cover it, and Robert said, don't worry, I won't miss. Thankfully he didn't, because each take was right there. That particularly stands out about the scene to me, especially. If you guys look back, there's the creepy guy in the hat back there. Kind of reminds me of Freddy, actually. It's kind of like a lone guy taking me back into my death scene. he was awesome. He was just a great guy. Just a wonderful actor. Just a great person. He just knows so much, so worldly, so caring. A great guy. So I had a blast working with him.
Oh, same.
He still is a great guy. I saw him a couple of times. I haven't done a lot of these. I'd like to do a lot more of these. These are fun. Meeting everybody's really cool. And I took a long break, moved away, getting back to the industry. And one of the ways I've been doing that is, I've been invited to a few of these and I bump into him there. And he's Robert's a really great actor. Nothing against him being locked into Freddy. It's been a blessing to him, I'm sure. But people know him as that. But talking with him and his knowledge about things, and I had my son with me. We went to London, and Robert was there. Just said, I can't say enough about what a great guy is, and just smart. And so when you talk to him, you get a lot of cool things. A lot of cool information and things about film and theater. This is really cool.
Everything. He knows so much.
Yeah, you get a lot of things from him,
Yeah.
personally, and
If you guys ever get to go to a convention that he's at and hang out, like he'll go into the hotel bar afterwards, and everyone goes around and he'll just start just going on riffing on about stories,
Yeah.
watching.
He likes to talk.
He likes to talk and he likes his bourbon.
So when this Dream Warriors was released, it was banned in Queensland, Australia.
I didn't either.
What are your thoughts on censorship as a whole, and do you think that, seeing what movies were out then and now, it didn't seem Dream Warriors was all that gory comparatively. So just what's your thoughts on censorship and Dream Warriors being censored in Australia?
Uh,
I have no idea. I didn't know.
I didn't know that. But I think that's very interesting because, if you look at what's going on today, and I'm kind of like, it just seems like every TV show and movie is like so scary, and I don't remember, I don't remember it ever being like that, and like, the gore and the darkness and some of the stuff, it's not something, it's a totally different level. I almost feel like this is not really a scary movie compared to a lot of it.
Yeah, that's what
Do we know why it was banned?
Yeah, Australia said the extreme content, Queensland, said of the extreme content of the film that they had to ban it.
Okay.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's right. The nurse took her top off. Maybe.
There you go.
Maybe.
It's those boobs. They don't have boobs in Australia.
Being part of such a quintessential film done in the 80s, what are your thoughts on what makes the 80s such a great decade for horror?
I think that the 80s was a great decade for film. I think it's like one of the last really good eras of, that's maybe because I was young and that's the time I was growing up, but I just think that it was before all the cable channels and all the rentals, so but honest, many films came out, and I think more was put into them. And I think each film that a big company made was made with the intention of being a big hit. And but that's just film in general. I don't know about horror.
I hope this comes out right when I say it, but nothing against where we've come with special effects and computer graphics and all that. But I often think that because there wasn't so much of that back then, it seemed more real. Now everybody's desensitized to, they just expect it. And they go, oh yeah, that's what I think it was. And that's why I said when we were doing it, the eeriness of, the way the film was produced brought us into like that feeling, Like I felt like a guy, So I think maybe that's what it was back then. You thought, those guys,
there's more suspense, right?
Yeah, it was just more real.
The 80s were cool. Great music.
Great music, yeah.
Great films. Great TV shows.
I hope that makes
What was the question?
Just asking what made the 80s such a strong decade for horror films.
That's when The Shining was, and a lot of good ones.
That's when a lot of the horror franchises hit, and we don't really have horror franchises anymore. Other than, Saw, but not like in the 80s.
Did you ever see Saw?
So we have just a few minutes left for any questions from the audience. Do we have any questions? Look at that.
This is still organized because I'm a very big fan of Elm Street. What was your favorite part of working in the movie?
Of working in the movie, did you say?
Like working in it and just being part of something so great.
For me, can I answer?
Yeah, it's too all.
For me, my favorite part is now, because I mean, I didn't know honestly until about 5 years ago that this movie had made such an impact. Because I also stopped. I sort of left acting around a couple of years after, and I didn't know it was such a big hit. And the fans, and through the years, when the fans come up and say hi, I mean, it's always such a wonderful experience. And so that's my favorite part. Sure.
Mine has to be, since that was the very first movie I ever worked on, it has to be the friendships. I don't know how often a lot of people work in the business, oh my God, we're gonna be friends forever, it's so great, and then, inevitably everybody splits and stuff, but I don't know, I've managed to keep in touch with pretty much everyone, and it was a special time for me. Such a great movie to work on. Bradley?
Yeah, sure.
It's just some of the same stuff that I said. I mean, just the experience. I really, like Ira just said, each individual, you're blessed to get a job in this industry that we set out to do. And then when it is a cool project, it's really cool. But then when it's one that you didn't know what, just like Penelope said, when you didn't, it is years later where, you'll get a letter from someone or somebody contacting you, and it's like that slow build of, wow, this is really a successful thing. A lot of people really dig this. That's what I get out of it. I get out of it just, the way I set out to be an actor wasn't so much about being an actor as the effect that film and TV storytelling has on. So it was like a mission for me. Like, because when I was a kid at home watching, and I really liked Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I was like a little kid, just, I had like a tough family life childhood, so I got to escape into it. I was like, that's what I'm gonna do, because that character affected me. So even in something in the horror genre, I mean, it's not gonna really have a great, message, but still that aspect of it, that so many people who do enjoy the genre really like that film. That was, so all of it has been really, that's what I enjoyed about it.
But I've had people tell me that this film helped them, because I was not really into horror films because for a lot of reasons, but and then to do this one and then to find out it had such an impact, and that it does have a positive message, and that's unusual for a horror film, and I think that's why it's such a hit. And on top of the humor, thank you, because it's got humor and it's also got facing your fears and facing, and I do think that's why this one is such a hit. So.
We have time for one last question from the audience, if anybody has one.
This question's for Ira.
Yes.
film was 27 years ago, and just listening to you speak right now, it's uncanny. Your voice is so recognizable, and you really haven't changed much. Do you still get recognized for this film?
Yeah, I do. It's fun. You know, in a town where you could run into George Clooney at Starbucks. You know, it's fun. That I was at Sharky's, you know, the restaurant Sharky's, so Beverly Hills Sharky's, getting some food, and this guy just stares at me. So very creepy, and he just starts shaking like Dream Warriors. And honestly, like the voice